Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Power Selling Podcast. I'm Danna Crawford, your host, and today is a Disney day. I am joined by Dean Mancina, and he grew up in Southern California. I'm so jealous. As a child, he was the unofficial tour guide for Disneyland for his Minnesota relatives when they came out to California. In the early 1970s, he had a mail order business selling 8mm sound reels to collectors of Disney animation. How cool is that? Way before videos and DVDs. He also sold Disneyland souvenirs he had picked up at garage sales and swap meets, mail order, and makeshift phones in auctions in the 1980s. And in December 1997, when he heard about Auction Web, he decided to try it and he signed up. So back then, the site that became known as eBay required sellers to provide minimal written descriptions and no photos. I remember those days too. Dean encouraged eBay to create Disneyana subcategory, and get this, he was invited to their headquarters at eBay to help put the new collectibles category together. How cool is that? Dean is a retired college professor. So he has plenty of time now to enjoy his Disneyland. In fact, he was just there a few days ago before our show. He attends often. He has a season pass, and he still has enjoyed the being young at heart, visiting Disneyland. So without further ado, please welcome Dean. Okay, so Dean, as an online seller, what do you like most about the eBay platform?
I think what I like the best is that you really can run your business the way you want to. There's so many variety and choices, like in the seller settings and stuff like that I can set it up kind of the way I want to have it set up. Um, I like the Terapeak research
Do
tool.
you?
It helps me get the top price for my items. Although initially I'll say I didn't like it. And then people kept talking about it, and I thought maybe I should revisit it. And I really practiced with it a little bit and figured out how to use it. And once I figured out, you know, uh, how to put a good title that would capture what I was looking for, it became a much more useful tool for me. And that helps me price my items. I really know what Disney stuff is worth, but what it's worth and what it actually sells for on eBay are two different things. So with Terapeak, I can find out what things are actually selling for,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of their worth, and
Okay.
helps me make a pricing decision.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm not a big user on Terapeak, so Terapeak is helping you look at completed listings.
Yeah, so if I have something that I think others might be selling, then or have sold, then I look at completed listings, and based on what it is, I'll either pick 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year.
Okay.
Sometimes I have to go back 3 years just to find it. Sometimes I think the price is so volatile, 3 years would be irrelevant. So then I just go to 1 year. I see what it's sold for, and then I go to see how many are on eBay right now and what they're
Okay.
selling for.
That's a good point. A lot of people forget to do that. They won't look
Right.
at current listings.
So it's both. It's both. What it's
Okay.
sold for is a good indicator for me. And of course, I like that in Terapeak you can filter out the auctions, because a lot of times auctions result in things going for way under value. So I
Mm-hmm.
can filter to just look at the buy it now prices of what it's sold for, and then go to the active listings. And then it really gives me a lot more confidence that I'm not missing out on money that I could make otherwise.
Sure. Good. Thanks for sharing. That's really good tips. So this is hard to believe that there could be something you don't like, but what part of selling on eBay do you least like?
The first thing I'll mention has nothing to do with eBay. It
Okay.
has to do with me. I'm really fussy about my pictures, my photo.
Oh,
And so after I take the photographs, I then put them into Photoshop Elements and fix them up and make them look much, much more accurate.
mm-hmm.
And then I list them, but that takes a lot of time and it gets boring after a while. There are
Yeah.
some obviously editing tools within eBay those are good for minor adjustments, but for the kind of things I'm trying to do, I do all that, and that does get boring after a while. So I tend to not like that so much. That's not eBay. That's on me because I want to do
Sure.
it that way. But I will say that, I miss not having my top rated seller status.
Yeah.
I sold about 1,000 items last year on eBay, and I
Mm-hmm.
have a pretty good inventory system that works almost all the time. But all my items are one of a kind items. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
quantities. So there
Mm-hmm.
are millions of little pieces of paper all over that are in where they're supposed to be. But over the last year, 5 items I could not find. And so I
Oh,
had to cancel 5 orders.
yep.
And eBay's pretty stiff on that, I think.
Yes, they are.
5 items out of 1,000 loses my top rater seller status. A lot of buyers who, are less, they've either had a bad experience on eBay or they're new to eBay. Something like that means a lot to them, how the seller is rated. So
Mm-hmm.
I occasionally get that. And then, a few months later, all of a sudden I'll lose it because I'll have one item that I cannot find.
Okay.
So that's a frustration, but
Yeah, we've all been there. It's it's not fun when you can't find an item, and
it drives me nuts. And I spend a
yeah.
lot of time, trying to figure out why it's not where it's supposed to be. And I haven't figured out the pattern yet.
Well, the SKUs on your eBay listing will let you you would put in that little box where your item is located. So when you're doing new listings going forward, then when your item sells, then now you could see where it's
So I
located.
use the note, the
Okay.
note feature. That's where I put it.
Okay. Notes works.
Yeah, I put notes. In notes, I put the date I listed it because when the item sells,
Wow.
it's actually kind of hard to find out when you listed it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's unsold, you can see when you listed it, but once it's sold, that information seems to disappear. And I like
Sure.
to know how long was it up? How long did I have that thing?
Right.
And
No, I
how
know.
much I paid for it also is in there, which helps
Yep.
me with my accounting features, and then where it's located.
Very good. Very good. Well, I know you're going to have a try out with List Perfectly. And I do have to tell you that the photo editing tool lets you bulk edit photos, and you're going to be in love when you,
Wow.
when you see
Wow.
this feature. And then also the feature of being able to add your, how much you paid for it and add all of that directly in
Wow.
the database. So we'll talk more
Sounds
about that later, but
intriguing. Yes.
yeah, you're going to like it. But have you tried selling on other platforms like Amazon, Etsy, Mercari, Poshmark?
I belong to a local eBay sellers group, which
Uh-huh.
I absolutely love. And it depends if your listeners have one in their neighborhood or not,
Yeah.
how convenient it is to go to one. But fortunately, I live in Long Beach, California, and there is one in Long Beach, California.
Yes.
Um, and it's been going on for a long time. And honestly, I have learned so many little tricks and tidbits and ideas from that group, just even if we don't have
Yeah,
a guest speaker, just everybody sharing 2 things that
that's
they do.
right.
Even if I don't really use it that way, the idea is useful. I can figure out, oh, well, that means that I could do this, so I don't necessarily use their idea, but it stimulates me to think of something that would work for me. So I love that. And people at these meetup groups said, oh my gosh, you should be selling on Amazon. You would make a fortune. You've got to put your stuff on Amazon. And so I spent about 3 months I'll never get back of my life um, trying to sell on Amazon.
Oh,
For me,
yeah.
it was highly unsuccessful. Um, I had to take all new photos because they have very different photo requirements
Yep.
and descriptions and everything. And once I got everything up, I think I tried 40 items to start or something like that. I got and of course you can't really talk to anybody at Amazon. It's all by email. And I think I'm talking to computers, but for me, this was my experience.
Yeah.
Amazon wrote to me and they said, you haven't paid your licensing fee to sell Disney memorabilia on our
Oh
site.
no.
And I said, what? And it said, you owe $10,000. It's $10,000 per year just to sell Disney
No.
memorabilia on the Amazon site, which I can't believe is true because I've seen some things that people are selling on Amazon, Disney stuff, there's no way they could afford $10,000 a year. And I certainly couldn't afford $10,000 a year. So I had sold 2 things and they said, well, I said, well, forget it. Then I'm not going to do it. They said, well, we'll just keep that money then because you didn't pay the licensing fee. So I never got a penny from Amazon.
Oh my
You could never
gosh.
talk to anybody. So that was kind of a disaster. So Amazon is I never tried, I bought things on Etsy, but I've never tried selling on Etsy.
Okay.
I tried selling on Mercari and I didn't have any luck with that either.
Okay.
It just seems like my niche seems to be eBay.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of
Yeah, I had fun. I was looking through your eBay store. It's really fascinating, and I noticed you had such cool stuff, and I thought this would probably do well on Etsy. I know there was quite a few pieces in there. I thought I'd mention.
Maybe when I get brave, I will try another one. But I got kind of burned on those too. So
No, I get it. I get it. And the
Okay.
great thing is, my eggs have been all in the eBay basket forever.
Oh, really? Okay.
And then just in the last couple of years, and I went and I joined all the platforms, didn't know how to use them. And then I just put all my items in list perfectly because you pull them all in from eBay and they're right there in your database now. It's easy to pull in. And then once they're all there, then you can push buttons and send them out to Mercari, send them out to Etsy, send them out to these other platforms. So I didn't have to learn how to use these other platforms.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah. So I
That will
can't
really
wait.
help. That will help me if I'm going to try it with Etsy. So
Yeah. I think Etsy would be a good place for a lot of your items. I know that you mentioned that you couldn't find a few of your items, but how do you organize? You've got a lot of, how many do you have listed? Like
1,700 items right now listed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I have them in tubs of various sizes. Like I have small tubs like this,
Okay.
that for little small things are
Oh,
in.
yeah.
And they have a letter on them.
Okay.
And I just, in the notes box, I indicate, where they're located. And some of them are here in my office. Some are on my stairs and my house, and some are in my garage. So I have them in different places because some things are small, medium, and large. And I even have, I sell a lot of Disney lapel pins.
Do you?
And I have those in the kind of boxes that you get at like Home Depot that are for nails and little hardware items,
Sure.
And my pins fit in those really nicely. So I've marked all of those with letters and numbers, and then I can pull those out real quickly. I have a lot of tiny stuff, and tiny stuff is easy to get lost. So
yeah, I know. I sold a campaign pin once from Vietnam. Got like $60 for it. Couldn't find it. Gave the guy his money back. And then one day I decided to move my microwave and it was under my microwave. I don't know
how it got there. You didn't have that in your screws box, I guess. Under the microwave.
I don't know how that happened.
Oh, shoot.
So you just never know.
Yeah. And of course, the buyer always says, well, thanks for the refund, but let me know if you find it. But you can't really contact eBay customers after a couple of weeks. That the ability goes away. And by the time I find it, it's really hard to know who that person was.
One thing that I have spoken to other sellers that do that I think is pretty interesting, and they would, when they can't find an item, they would send 2 better items and then put a note in there and then not cancel the listing.
What I have done is, you can contact the buyer,
right,
through the eBay system or even by phone right after the sale. And I have basically offered them double the value of what they purchased.
Uh-huh.
And if they can want something in my shop instead.
Okay.
But I do have 2-day handling fee, so that only gives us 2 days to do that,
That's right.
Otherwise I'll get the other kind of ding for being late.
That's
but
right.
Some people have taken advantage of it and been thrilled.
Yep.
They buy a $60 item and I give them $120 worth of merchandise.
There you
Better
go.
than getting a ding. And because of the, I have quite a bit of profit margin on a lot of my stuff because I obtained it when I went to Disneyland. It was free handouts. A lot of my stuff was free.
Yep, that's right.
The profit margin is good on a free item.
That's it.
So I can afford to do that, and then it makes the customer happy, and I don't get that kind of a ding. But some people just say, "Well, you have so many things, I can't figure out how to look through it." it's hard to, when you have a store with a lot of things, unless you have good search engines or good subcategories or people know how to use them, it's hard for people to see all the cool stuff that you actually have. So
That's a good point.
my stuff has sold, people say like, oh, if it doesn't sell in 3 months, forget it. Just, donate it or something. I have stuff that I've had in my store for 2 years that sells.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what it
They're
is.
little. They're not taking up a lot of space.
Right. Exactly. They're not taking
That's
up.
the difference. It's people that have their stuff in storage, and I actually send all of my stuff to Denver. So they do my fulfillment. But just because I don't have a lot of space. So small things though are nice.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, the value of all of the paper items in this box. I mean, there's so many, great rare Disney items in this box that I've listed all individually, but look at how much little space they take up, So that's an advantage of selling small things if you have small things that are valuable. So
that's right. That's right. And I know a lot of people that also, not a lot of people, but I know some people that travel in an RV and they carry their inventory like that sell small things so that they can travel.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Oh my goodness. So where do you source new products for your eBay store?
When I first started collecting back in 1976, I was going to swap meets and garage sales and finding things. And then I'd find a great ashtray, but then I'd find an upgrade, or I found one that was, so good I couldn't resist it. The price was so low. I don't know where I thought I was going to sell this stuff, but, I did sell at Disney collector conventions, and eventually I sold at antique malls. I did put my stuff in antique.
Oh, did you?
But I had a lot of stuff, and a lot of it's small, like I showed you, and it just doesn't take up much room. So I really have tons of stuff. I don't know for sure I'll live long enough to sell it all. But, where I really source stuff is on eBay, because it's so fun to look on eBay, and I just look at the Disney category all the time. And at least weekly, I find something fantastic, I mean, I didn't even really plan this, but I do have this. I just got this from eBay, and it's a really early souvenir.
Wow.
Cat. It's a really, really early one. And I've had a couple before, but they're always, it's kid size. It's very tiny. And they're always really soiled. And this one is just in such fantastic.
That's great.
That I couldn't resist upgrading mine in my own collection, because I certainly have my own extensive collection of Disney memorabilia too that's not for sale.
That was a cap that you just shared. It was red and white, and it looked like...
No, it's from Disneyland, and it had Donald Duck on one side and Mickey on the other. And it says Disneyland on the front with an old Disneyland logo.
Yeah.
Probably from around 1960-ish. A lot of Disneyland stuff doesn't have dates on it, but it's around this 1960s.
And great condition.
Yeah, in fantastic condition.
Wow.
And it was very inexpensive on eBay. So I love looking at the Disneyana category and finding fun things that I buy either for my own collection, or I buy and then turn around and resell.
So you're also a collector?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes. I have a huge collection. That's why some of my inventory is in the garage, because my personal collection's in my house.
Okay. Do you give tours?
I used to, but it's too messy right now.
Yeah. Well, if I ever come to Long Beach, I'll give you a couple months notice.
Thank you. That's what I need. 2 months.
So how do you know what's valuable and what isn't valuable in Disney memorabilia?
Yeah, so that's a really popular question. That's what everybody asks me. And it's partly because I've been collecting since 1976. So when you collect something for that long, you know it, and I just am amazed at all the sellers who sell a wide variety of stuff, because I have no idea how they do it, because you can't be knowledgeable about everything, but I'm very knowledgeable about Disney stuff. But the other thing is that, as you know, in any collectibles genre, the value of items goes up and down over time.
Yeah.
For example, in the 60s, 70s, 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s, early 90s, Disney ceramic and porcelain figurines were just so highly desired. I mean, there are ones that date back to the 30s and the 40s. And were so popular. And that market has really gone down. And if you want to collect Disney ceramic figurines, eBay's an incredible place to buy stuff at either what somebody paid for it 30, 40 years ago or less. It's really gone down. So certain things have gone down. Pinback buttons, the round metal buttons that people wore on their shirt that they sold in the park for souvenirs for many years, used to be popular. Nobody wants them anymore. Lapel pins, like I mentioned before, are very collectible and desirable. Disney has sold probably millions of different pins. And they sell these at their store. They sell them online. They sell them at their parks. And there's a huge collector's market for pins. The problem with pins is it's a very, very competitive market.
Is it?
And if you look at Disney pins, you'll find thousands of sellers on eBay. And many of those are employees who get a 35 to 50% discount on the pins. So it's very hard to compete.
Oh.
So I do buy pins because I live close to Disneyland and I go to Disneyland often on my pass, and I'll see the design work is just unbelievable on the pins. They just make such beautiful pins. And I very, very selectively buy them based on characters that people collect. Like people are really into the Haunted Mansion. They're really into Uncle Scrooge. They're really into Stitch. But that changes too. They used to be into Tinkerbell, and now nobody wants Tinkerbell. So
I love Tinkerbell.
I do too. She's one of my favorites. She was very early associated with Disneyland, which I love, because Walt Disney was very worried about losing his trademark rights for characters, because he had done that in his early years with Oswald the Rabbit. He accidentally lost that. So he was extremely protective of his characters. He actually did a research project right before he opened Disneyland, and to find out which were his least desired animated characters. And then he put those in the park, because everybody said, you're going to lose this park. And he thought, if I lose Disneyland, if it ends up being a disaster and I lose the characters, I don't want to lose my most valuable. So at the time, the research said Tinkerbell and Dumbo was his least desirable characters. So if you see a 1955 and 1956 item from Disneyland and it has a Disney character on it, it's probably going to be Tinkerbell or Dumbo.
Interesting.
You didn't want to put anybody else on them back at that time. And so because I like Disneyland, I have lots of things with Tinkerbell on them, because she was an early used character. But anyway, I also really love postcards, Disneyland postcards. These are photographic history of the park, many times of attractions that are no longer there, like the flying saucers. And the high quality photos on cardstock paper. So if they haven't been mailed, they really hold up well. And they used to be very, very, very valuable. I've seen on eBay and sold on eBay postcards worth hundreds of dollars. But that market has really backed off the last couple or 3 years. But paper items, cast member items, which you can easily find at swap meets and garage sales, especially if you are near a Disney park, you will find cast member items. And cast member items, are not available to the public typically, and so that's very desirable to collectors.
Yeah.
As are other paper items, the kind of things that people would get at the park but then throw away. Like you go in 1965 and you get when you go through the entrance turnstile, you get a little thing with all the entertainment for the day. But you stick it in your pocket or put it in your purse, and then at the end of the day, you throw it away. So those which you still show up in pristine condition are very desired by collectors. Of course, animation cells are Disney art is still really hot and popular. Disneyland sold animation cells for between $2.50 and $3.50 each. And now those are worth hundreds, if not thousands of dollars each. So those are really, really I have also things from the 30s and the 40s, which are either identified by a date or by the character, are
Okay.
popular. And then finally, Walt Disney's autograph on anything is worth thousands of dollars.
Okay.
The problem is, A, there are fakes,
That's
and
right.
B, when Walt was alive, there was so much demand for his autograph, and he didn't think it was going to be worth thousands of dollars. He authorized some of his top artists to sign his stuff for him because he didn't have time. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people who believe they have something that they got from Disney or the Disney Studios or from Disneyland that has Walt Disney's signature on it, very likely could actually be an artist authorized signature. So the real Walt Disney signature, which also many people have. I have one that I bought online, bought through mail from a woman, but this was before eBay, that she had been working in a Nabisco factory, and she was eating her lunch, and she had a piece of waxed paper that she had her lunch on, and she heard a familiar voice down the hall, and she stuck her head out, and here a bigwig at Nabisco was walking Walt Disney through the plant. And she grabbed her waxed paper and a pen and asked him to sign it. And so I have that in my collection. I
Oh,
framed it
that's
with
a
a picture of Walt
great.
Disney. And, that's the kind of thing that's really cool if you really got. And Walt Disney did, a lot. He was approached at the park a lot with ticket books, tickets, brochures, and asked to sign them, and he often
I
would.
bet.
So there are lots of real Walt Disney signatures out there, but those are really valuable.
Wow. My challenge is trying to price items that are one of a kind. That's hard to do.
Right. However, I will say that eBay has such a database now through
Yeah.
that they let Terapeak use, that a lot of things that in my many years of collecting I thought of as nobody will have this.
Yep.
I'm just shocked to find that that 3 or 4 of them have sold on eBay already. Now the limit, unfortunately, Terapeak only goes back 3 years.
Yep.
That's the problem. And with a rare item, it might have been something that eBay sold 10 years ago or 12 years ago. I use WorthPoint myself, and WorthPoint goes back. They've got records at least back to 2013, I think, maybe 2011 even. So that's really, really helpful
Yeah.
because if it's something unusual, unless it's really, really, truly one of a kind,
Right.
if it's really unusual, there may have only been 1 or 2 or 3 on eBay in the last 10 years. So
Sure.
having more than 3 years research is really helpful for, pricing something appropriately.
Yes. I find it challenging, and I do tend to price high and then make an offer. How do you feel about that?
Oh, that's a good question. So I never used make an offer
Okay.
because I thought it was like putting a picture on your page saying, I'm willing to take less for this. This isn't really what I think it's worth,
Okay.
And then at a seller's meeting, people started saying about why they make an offer and say, like you can use it selectively on some of your items. If you want to have it just, you can have an interchange with people. You might be willing to take a
Sure.
little bit less. And so I have experimented with it, and I've
Okay.
had fairly good luck actually, because I've been selective as to what I put it on. Things that I've had in my store for a long time,
Sure.
things that I have a good profit margin on,
Mm-hmm.
or things that now like postcards that aren't quite as hot as they used to be,
Mm-hmm.
So I have done that. The other thing I do price things on the high side as well. And I use the coupon feature.
Okay.
I do provide a receipt to my customers. I print out the receipt and I customize the receipt and I put the coupon at the bottom.
Oh, in
And
the mailing?
Yeah, in the mailing.
Okay.
Yeah. So I, with the package. And so they get a package that has a coupon with an expiration date. And I even very quickly take a pink marker pen and circle that and put little details on it to really draw their attention to it, because I like
Yes.
repeat buyers. And I do have some people who have become really serious repeat buyers.
God, I love that.
They buy from me like 2 to 4 times every month. they'll buy something from me.
Wow.
Now I have mostly all new buyers. I don't have that many repeat buyers, but
Yeah.
I think the coupon helps that, even though a lot of people don't use it, they just throw it away and then they buy something from me and they don't use a coupon. But
Yeah.
I put a 15 or 20% coupon
Oh,
on
that's
my
nice.
packages. I don't do it every month, but I do it like every other month, and it's good for the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the month. You have to put
Okay.
an expiration date on those, but um, and that builds in a little wiggle room for me, especially for my regular customer. For my truly, really regular customers, I have made a special coupon code for them.
Okay.
Um, and I just tell them, and I write that on their receipt. I said, just keep this, tape it to your computer or something. Whenever you buy something from me, put in this code because I set it up for you, and it's good for 6 months, and it's good on
Wow.
every purchase you make from me. And you'll always get 15% off,
Love that.
always.
Love that.
And they like that. And if they forget to use it, or sometimes they actually tell me it won't work. I don't know why that is, but
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty easy when I'm doing the process of shipping
Checkout.
the item to them is to give them the 15% credit.
Okay.
I can,
Okay.
do a refund.
I love that idea. I've never heard anybody do that with the special code for them that you could give it out for 6 months.
You can set that. You can make those coupons good as long as you want. You have to set
Yeah,
an
right,
end
right,
date. You can
true.
make them for as long as you want. And I just say for the next 6 months, here's your special coupon code. And I send that to, just a handful
Your
of my
repeat.
best customers, and they
I
feel
love
kind of
that.
special. They are special. And they're special to me.
That's
I think
right.
I'm special to them because I have what they like to collect. And, their loyalty is of great value to me. So
Wow. I
certainly worth
love
15%.
this. I love that. In fact, I just shipped out a $300 Grateful Dead poster today. I
Wow.
wish I would have thought about that. I love that idea. So you never
The other
know.
thing that I do is at the Christmas time, I did that. I've done this for years, but now it's become really inexpensive to do it. Is I create a limited edition postcard,
Really?
and for me, obviously, what do? I go to Disneyland and I take a picture. I have to
Yes.
take a lot of pictures because I'm not a professional photographer to get a good one, but eventually I get a good one, and then through all of these online printing companies, you can get 100 postcards made really inexpensively. And then on the back, I say, number, and I underline it of 100. And then I go through and I number them 1 through 100, and I sign my name, and I put them in the package for people during the holidays, and they get a special little collectible.
Love
So
it.
I don't know how other sellers could use that who sell eclectic stuff, but you know, just a picture of a super cool item that you sold. You can use that, take a picture of that, and use that for a postcard. You can make a postcard out of anything. The quality is amazing. The price is very reasonable, especially if you make 250, but I don't really want that many postcards. So it feels more of a limited edition if there's only 100. So,
Wow. Great tips you're sharing. I love that idea so much.
thank you.
It's brilliant. So, in closing, please share a couple of memorable purchases and sales on eBay about your Disneyana.
Yeah, so the sale that always comes to mind. So I know that you do consignment.
Yeah.
And I've never really been into consignment because I have to charge the customer so much. Otherwise, it's so much work. And plus, I have so much stuff in my garage of my own to sell, which I make 100% on that. So I only have done consignments for friends.
Okay.
In need, like a friend who's, hit on hard times and they have some Disney stuff. Can I help them?
Okay.
And I'll help them that way. But unfortunately, that my friend didn't understand that. And he told a friend of hers, "Oh, you can consign stuff with Dean." And so then she contacted me, but she was a bigwig in Disney, and she had really fantastic things. She didn't have a lot
Oh,
of stuff, which was good, and they were all really great things. So I said, "Yes, I'll take your stuff." And we had just been communicating by email, even though she lives in North Hollywood and down in Long Beach. But anyway, she made a trip down. She dropped everything off, and when I went through it, she had received as a gift for her work on Fantasia 2000, which was the update Fantasia movie.
Uh-huh.
about 24 years ago. She had received a glass etched vase at the premiere, and it was huge. I mean, it was really maybe 2 feet tall,
Uh-huh.
and it was heavy, and it was beautifully etched with Mickey as the Sorcerer's Apprentice, the brooms that spilled the water, the dancing hippos. I mean, it was gorgeous. But I don't sell a lot of glass items,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't have a lot of experience shipping glass items. But, I told her I'd sell this for it. It was worth a lot of money. I think it was about $1,000 or $1,200. And so I put it up on eBay, and this was before eBay international shipping. So
Oh, okay.
but I was shipping things internationally, but I didn't really think to not mark that box on this listing. So, of
Uh-oh.
course, somebody bought it who lived in England. And I thought, holy crap, how am I going to successfully mail this to England on my own? But, I used everything I knew about wrapping. I heavily wrapped it in bubble wrap. I put packing popcorn around that. I put that in a box. I put that in another box with tons of
Okay.
packing popcorn.
Good.
I did all the
Good.
things you're supposed to do.
Yep.
And I'm not very religious, but I did say a few prayers. I sent it off, and it made it to UK in one piece. So the person totally loved it, and she was thrilled to get some money for something that she didn't really care about. So it
Wow.
was a really memorable sale. I also, I collect all kinds of souvenirs from Disneyland, and I was making a presentation at a collector's convention, and I was showing 20 things that were special in my collection, special and unusual. And one of them was when Walt Disney in 1964 created Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln for the New York World's
Oh,
Fair, the
yeah.
first audio animatronic human robot that they made. He brought that back to Disneyland afterwards and had it in this park. It still does to this day. And one time I was in a thrift shop, and I'm looking at sterling silver charms, and I saw this little man in a chair, and I picked it up, and lo and behold, it was Mr. Lincoln from Disneyland. It was the souvenir. I didn't even know they sold this souvenir. A
Wow.
little sterling silver Lincoln sitting in the chair as he does at Disneyland. And so I brought that and showed it at the show, at the presentation I made. I was just up on a stand at a podium making a presentation about all my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got home, that was gone. I never, ever found it. Of course, I called the hotel.
Oh.
Huge convention. Can you look and see if you see a little tiny charm,
Oh.
half an inch tall? And I was never able to replace that until one day I found it on eBay.
Really?
And I think it was $25 or something. I probably would have paid 200 at that point. I was so thrilled to get that back in my collection because I was so frustrated that I, made a presentation about something and then lost one of my prized.
Wow.
And then finally, I also, when I was a kid, we lived in this area and we went to Disneyland a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Relatives would come out to visit. I would be the unofficial Disneyland tour guide for them. And I loved to buy, souvenirs were more simple in the 50s and 60s, than they are today.
Sure.
But what was just endlessly fascinating to me is that I could buy this Tinkerbell glow-in-the-dark plastic wand, and it glowed in the dark. It was amazing to me. And it came on a card, and I, would hold it up in the light, hold it in the dark. And, oh my gosh, as a kid, that was an amazing, in the 50s
Yeah.
and 60s, that was an amazing technology. But eventually, I lost it or whatever. And I did find one that was in kind of ratty condition, but I always wished I could find a really nice one. And eBay was where I found one still on the original card. And it's just
Wow.
so fabulous to have that in my collection. So, for both buying and selling, eBay has been just such a joy. And just, even if I don't buy the thing, just browsing on eBay in my category and just seeing cool things that remind me of things I had or things I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Even park props. I should have mentioned that before. There's
Yeah.
the the parks used to have an annual employee property sale where they just sold things that they didn't want anymore.
Wow.
And that stuff has worked its way out into swap meets and garage sales and stuff, like their china, their dinnerware that they used to have that
No
had Disneyland
kidding.
on it, and park benches.
Oh,
And
crazy.
tables and chairs from the Carnation Cafe. I mean, all kinds of oddball stuff, but that to collectors, it's, like to have a piece of the park in your home,
Yeah.
they put up periodic signs on their lampposts for different events they're having. And they sold those. Those were props in the park, but they sold them when they were done with them to collectors. They were scratched up a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
you have a piece of the park. They replaced all their mailboxes inside the park for people to mail postcards, and they sold their old postal boxes. They're cast iron postal boxes.
Wow.
That's
So you were there. So you went there as a child.
Yeah, I mean, I have a little short video of me at about age 2 or 3. Of course, I don't remember that trip at all.
Yeah.
From age 5 to 12, we got to go quite a bit, and it was really great. And then when I got old enough and they started having annual passes, I
Yeah.
bought an annual pass. I only lived about 15 minutes from the park at that time. It was literally fun to work all day, get off work, and just run over to the park for a couple hours
Yeah.
and just hang out for free.
Yeah.
It didn't cost anything.
Yeah. Well, I'm in Florida, and I had passes for several years, so I know how enjoyable it is.
It's a whole different experience to go to the park with the pass than it is
It
with the ticket.
is.
You don't feel the compulsion to get your money's worth. You can just go there and
No.
relax and have a wonderful time.
Have
And
dinner.
place on earth.
Just go ride Space Mountain and go home and just. That's what I liked about it.
Yep. Yep.
But okay. Well, any final words, Dean, that you'd like to share? Something.
It's just been a great platform for me, and I've really enjoyed communicating with my buyers. I love taking pride in the way I ship my items so they arrive and show the respect I have for the item. I wrap some stuff really nicely and really carefully in hard cardboard boxes,
Mm-hmm.
envelopes and stuff, so when people get it, they think like I didn't just throw it in, that
Right.
look, it is a valuable item. I know it's a valuable item. It's going to be more valuable in the future, and I protected it on its way. And I use USPS, which has done well for me all
Yeah.
these years, and they've gotten better and better. I've lost fewer and fewer items over the years. I think
Oh, good.
their automated systems of tracking and stuff have really improved.
Good. Yeah, we've come a long way. I will admit, eBay's gotten a little easier to list. The listing process has gotten easier. It's so nice to meet you and hear your story. So thanks so much for being here and sharing it with us.
You're welcome.
Wow, I am so motivated now. I want to go to Disney and go visit Disney World here in Florida. He's lucky. He's in Disneyland. He was just there. And now I want to go visit Disney World again. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope that you're inspired as well and keep your eye out for that Disney memorabilia. And also take a look at List Perfectly. There are lots of options with listing items across multiple platforms. And now with Auto Delist, it's made life so much easier for me. I had a sale the other day on eBay and it auto delisted from the 8 other marketplaces that I had it listed on automatically from those sites. So it's a wonderful tool. It also has great inventory management and editing photos and all kinds of fun things. So thank you, List Perfectly, for sponsoring this. I'm a huge fan, and I also enjoy using the platform. And now Dean will have that experience as well. Any questions, you can reach out to me, and I'll be happy to point you in the right direction for List Perfectly and also getting started selling Disney memorabilia across all these platforms. Thanks for joining. Until next time, I'm Danna Crawford, the Power Selling Mom, and you're listening to the Power Selling Podcast. Bye-bye.